Professor, but we have Comrade Robson Chere, the General Secretary of Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union. We also have Comrade Raymond Majongwe, so the General Secretary of Progressive Teachers Union. Unfortunately, Sister Tsitsi Dangarembwa could not meet the changed time. We were expecting to start at 6, but we realized that there will be soccer between Zimbabwe and Malawi. So we moved it to 4 p.m. and that has inconvenienced her. But Comrade Robo will give us an update of our comrades who are attending court today. We've been in police cells for 2 days, 2 nights now. And you also advise us why is ARTUZ fighting this struggle. And thereafter we hear from Comrade Majongwe. And Comrade Majongwe, kindly accept my invite to speak so that you are connected. We'll hear from Comrade Majongwe on what has been the teachers' plight in the so-called Second Republic, and what is the way forward for teachers, what is the way forward for workers in Zimbabwe in general. Colleagues, this Twitter space is being streamed live on ZimEye and Change Radio, and we are broadcasting live in those platforms for those who are following on Facebook, just to advise comrades who will be speaking. But Comrade Chele, how are you? Good evening. Oh, I think there's some challenge with this network there. Let me see if we can connect with Comrade Majongwe.
Good evening, Comrade Mutaza, and good evening to the rest of the people who are listening. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, Comrade. Thank you for connecting, and welcome. So maybe we start with you, Comrade Robot, to give us the background, what is happening, what happened 2 days ago, where are we now, what are the demands of ARTUZ, and why are you making those demands? Unmute, I think you are muted. Right, as we wait for our speakers, Comrade Majongwe and Comrade Robot, to connect, for those who are joining us, we are holding this Twitter Spaces in solidarity with our comrades from ARTUZ, Comrade President Masaraure Obet, and 15 teachers, Zimbabwean teachers, who have spent 2 days in prison. They were just demanding a living wage, but their demands and the trade union work has been criminalized. So we need to hear from the General Secretary, Comrade Robo, and Comrade Ray Majongwe, and Professor Maduku, who may join us anytime from now. Comrade Robo, are you back?
Can you hear me, comrades? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. You may proceed.
Good evening. I hope that would be convicted.
Comrade Robo,
I know
Comrade Cherry.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear now.
I'm hardly hearing you, comrade.
Comrade Cherry, you can proceed now. You can give us the update. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm currently at the Harare Magistrate Court, where our members, including the president of Amalgamated Road Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, are attending court, being charged with participating in an illegal gathering in order to promote public violence, breach of peace, and bigotry. But all this is emanating from a demonstration which was organized and led by Amalgamated Road Teachers Union on Wednesday, the 12th of January 2022. This is coming from a background where teachers' salaries have been severely eroded, and where the government has failed to honor its promises in terms of paying a living wage. We have a standing agreement that we have with the government of the pre-October 2018 salaries, where teachers were earning salaries of USD 540 and above, and that agreement is still standing. But it was the government which changed goalposts when they introduced the bond notes and lied to the nation that the bond note is equal to 1:1 at the rate with the USD salaries. But now we know that the economy has dollarized. Everything that is happening in the economy, we are using United States dollars, and it is the workers, the majority being the civil servants, that are being excluded into the daily activities of the economy. And this has greatly affected the welfare of workers. To speak of from our position as the Amalgamated Road Teachers Union of Zimbabwe, this has worsened especially the welfare of teachers, that they have been excluded in the economy, that the salaries that we are getting in RTGS is not enough to cater for the welfare of teachers, to an extent that teachers are even failing to cater for their daily living activities, to an extent that teachers are not even be able to send their own children to schools, even to schools that they teach. Sometimes we will not be even able to send your own child as teacher to the school that you are teaching, which is actually an insult to the working class, which is an insult to the profession. And our demands were not only centered on salaries only, but we were also having demands to do with promoting access to quality education, bearing in mind that we are at a time where the pandemic has ravaged and the education sector has not been spared. A lot of learners failed to have enough time in classrooms due to the pandemic and the lockdown that were there, and also due to the fact that teachers were incapacitated. And it is this government who happens to be our employer who promised last year that in the year of 22 they will improve the salaries of teachers. And they were simply reminding them on Wednesday, where there was an 8-day NC meeting that was taking place, that they should pledge they should honor their promise that they pledged to make sure that they restore our salaries to pre-October 2018 salaries, which is United States dollars 540 and above, and also equip the school environment so that all learners and teachers will have a conducive learning environment in our schools. Thus, by availing resources to make sure that there is enough protection of protection material to guard against the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in our schools, and also to aid resources so that there is enough learning material in our schools, so that the gap will be bridged where learners have been lagging behind for the time that they've lost outside the classroom. So these were part of the demands that we were having on Wednesday, where we were picketing outside the outside the NASA building where the negotiations were taking place. And this is lawful because as far as we are concerned, we know that our constitution requires us as trade unions and as workers to express our grievances through picketing and demonstrating towards our employer. But what surprises us is that instead of attending to the grievances, instead of our employer focusing on arresting the ever rising prices in our stock or in goods that in the economy, and arresting corruption that is actually aiding to the erosion of economical activities, they chose to send the police to arrest part of our members, and including our national president Obed Masaraure. Even also and the guards also to randomly beat the protesters who were actually picketing, doing unlawful activities before taking them to the Harare Central Police Station. And what boggles the mind again is that it took them almost more than 12 hours before they come up with a charge. But we know very well that a person must be informed of the reason of arrest upon being arrested. But it took them 12 hours to come up with a charge, and ended up preferring to charge them with participating in an illegal gathering in order to promote public violence, breach of peace, or bigotry. But what we were doing, we were doing lawful activities. Instead, we were actually focusing on saving the education sector, which is on the verge of collapse, which is one of the most fundamental things that a very caring government should be focused on. To promote education, to promote access to education, to promote quality education, so that the education will aid into the national development of our country. So our comrades spent 2 nights in prison, and now they are at the Harare Magistrate Court where I am. In the morning, they were taken to Harare Magistrate Court in the morning, but we are still there. They are arguing in terms of bail, and the state is actually opposing the bail for teachers who are supposed to go back in a few weeks' time into the class and deliver education, but instead they are denying even bail for them to be out only because they've been demanding a living wage. So as a union, this is a great disappointment from our employer, but we will not going to fold our heads and just watch as the education is on the verge of collapse. Definitely, we are going to make sure that we are going to escalate even this. No matter we are going to face this persecution, but we are going to escalate this struggle so that education can be restored back to its status, so that there is the poor or the ordinary citizens can access education, as well as the educators being also empowered in the process. Thank you.
Oh, and we seem to be missing Comrade Mato, but our guest said, Bob, and those who are watching us, streaming us live, would want to have a feel of what the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe 23 yes, with respect to around $700 US. What is a teacher earning currently? Not hearing you. Are you hearing me? Comrade Robo, are you hearing? Right, so we want to hear from the comrades. Unfortunately, Comrade Majongwe is also having some network challenges. But the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe family basket is now 73,000 RTGS, which equates roughly to 680 US dollars according to the official rate, 688, and according to the actual rate which is obtaining in the market, which is called the black market, for some reasons, it's around 340 US dollars. So we want to find out how much a teacher is earning in comparison to the Consumer Council basket. To what extent are teachers in poverty? Comrade Robson, did you get that?
Yes, Comrade, can come again. I missed a little part. I think my guy is having a problem with sound, so you come again.
Yeah, so we are asking how much is a teacher earning? We know the Consumer Council family basket is now at, bread basket is now at 73,000 RTGS. How does that compare to teachers' salaries?
Teacher salaries are way below that, depending on the grade. Teacher salaries are ranging from 12,000 RTGS dollars going upwards, but they not surpass the 28,000 RTGS dollars.
Yes, Comrade Majongwe, welcome, and we'll be giving you the floor shortly. We can hear you now. Thank you for joining. Right, thank you. You can proceed, Comrade Robo. Well, I think we lost again, Comrade Robo. So welcome, Comrade Majongwe.
Welcome, comrade. Thanks for winning the Crisis Coalition election.
Oh, thank you very much. We thank God for giving us the opportunity to lead the oppressed people's struggle. And we also know you, comrades, you'll be with us. Thank you for the solidarity and support. So we've heard the background about ARTUZ protest, but we now want to hear from you the broader picture. What has been the plight of teachers in the so-called Second Republic? How does it even compare with what we used to face and experience in the Robert Mugabe era? And what do you think needs to be done?
I think the shortest summary I can give you, comrade, is I've just been reading a summary of what has been sent by the comrades who are attending the National Joint Negotiating Council. A process that we have since time immemorial have dismissed as a sham, as an illegitimate process, which is basically seriously flawed. And I would have wanted Dr. Maduku to be here, because when he did the first analysis in 1997, when the statutory instrument that is purported to facilitate for negotiations for Civil 7 was put on board, he dismissed it as a sham. And I'm surprised 24 years later, the same instrument is still being used. I think the most important point that I want to underscore here is there is nothing called collective bargaining in Zimbabwe. Since the time that we were told that there was going to be harmonization of laws, 9 years back, nothing has happened. Convention 151 and 154, that are supposed to be the bedrock on which civil servants can negotiate with government, are not ratified by government. Point number 2, the most important point that we want to also underscore is the Constitution makes it very clear that people are supposed to join unions of their choice. They're supposed to participate in processes. They're supposed to assemble freely, as is provided for by Section 65. As we witnessed my young brothers getting arrested yesterday or a day before, when they were basically doing what is necessarily allowed for in any good democracy. But they proceed to say we want to just stage a sit-in, we want to stage a demonstration, which is all allowed. And this is nothing new, because this is exactly what was happening. A young Raymond Majongwe, together with Takwafira Joe, together with Innocent Sibanda, who I also saw on this particular platform, did the same thing at one time in 2000, 2001, and we got arrested. And you are asking yourself, why do you arrest citizens who are simply saying to government, pay us well? Is it a crime? And these are the things that are there. Government decides who negotiates, who they negotiate with, and as far as we are concerned, this is exactly what is happening. Self-pollination. The same people that they handpick go to negotiate with them. And what comes out of it? Sham processes. Even if you go to read the statement that has come, I think I've sent it to you. If you could just put it for the platform on the platform for people to see, to say, what is it saying? It's written in English, but I think you need somebody to come and translate it for you because it's not saying anything. And these are the challenges that the workers are facing. Teachers can't pay for their rentals. They can't send their kids to school. They can't buy food. This is why there is now a lot of criminal activity within the teaching fraternity. Women are suffering. They are being forced to engage in extramarital issues. This is why if you go to any paper, you hear a teacher has done that, a teacher has done that. And apparently it's because government has deliberately decided to make sure that teachers are impoverished as a political tool to silence them. And this is not acceptable in this day and age because we are talking of qualified, competent people. And I go back to when Wamunangagwa was made president. There was a Shikiro at the National Sports Stadium who came out and said, Nika, itongeke vanhu vaine nzara. The reason why people are doing this is because they are hungry. Comrade Peter, just to make it very clear, we have noted suicide on a weekly basis. We are receiving incidents of people who have now become drug addicts because of poverty. Several families have collapsed. Husbands and wives can't stay in one house because the other one can't provide. The family institution is totally broken. You can't send your own kids to preschool. As we speak, schools have sent out circulars, teachers teaching at some of these popular schools where teachers normally wanted to send their kids. You must work for 7 months for you to be able to send your kids to that particular school. And for those 7 months, you can't even take a cent to buy underwear. You must wait for 7 months so that you are able to pay one term fees for your child. And that is unacceptable. And this is why we are saying, why is it that the Second Republic has failed to realize that teachers that are happy are good for the nation? And this is why we are simply saying, as we speak, a teacher can only buy 100 loaves after working for the whole month. Your salary you can only go and buy 8 dozens of bread. And is that the way we want? Assume we are going to qualify and quantify teachers' salaries on loaves of bread. What of medical care? What of rental? What of food? What of all these other things? I think it's a tragedy. And this is why we are saying it would be said that President Mnangagwa will be going on holiday and fail to realize that his workers, the civil servants, the patriotic Zimbabweans that we're talking about, are wallowing in poverty. They can't afford food. They can't afford rentals. They can't send their kids to school. They can't clothe themselves. And yet somebody thinks that these workers should just report for duty and nobody should talk about it. If you go to the streets, you get arrested. And I want to urge Obet and many others to simply continue doing the same. That's the only way these guys will understand. And as far as we are concerned, that the PTUZ, we are simply going to go back to the same modus operandi. Because this is how the PTUZ was born. We called ourselves the Union of Struggle, and we believed that being arrested was not a problem because we knew how ZANU-PF grew. You arrest people and you make them really understand who they are, and this is what this government is simply doing. The Second Republic has failed teachers. They've failed the nation. This is why, if you look at it now, kids are indulging in drugs. Kids are indulging in sex because the teachers have given up. So as far as we are concerned with the problem, is this problem was not a problem because we knew how ZANU-PF.
Yeah, thank you, Comrade Majongwe. And that's quite a sad situation. When we grew up, we used to know that the standard of living is measured by how teachers in your locality are living. We used to revere teachers, headmasters, Even in our communities, they used to command lots of respect. I wonder nowadays how teachers and students relate, teachers and communities relate. From all what you are saying, it sounds that teachers are thrust in poverty. And what has happened to the dignity of teachers?
There's no dignity to talk about. We are laughing stock. This is why wherever, even if you go to Makombi today, people will be telling you about the poverty of the teacher. And it's that deliberate impoverishment of the teacher, pauperization of a professional, one who is supposed to be a role model, that we are convinced the Second Republic wants to push forward. Because how do you explain a situation where you know that the same person you are giving RTGS 23,000, there's a child, there's a rental to pay, some of these people have cars that they also want to drive to work, and then you simply say, this is what we can afford. It's a time in a country when we know that there are people that are putting thousands or millions of US dollars under their feet and claiming that there is a lot of wealth in this country. That's the wealth that must be shared equally. The minerals that were put in Zimbabwe by God are supposed to be used to benefit every citizen, teachers included, not soldiers only, not CIOs only. Everybody who is a Zimbabwean must have access to the wealth of this country. But we all can't be Makorokosa. You must understand. Somebody has to make sure that the kids are brought up properly. They are nurtured properly and nurtured correctly. Because the moment we then say, if you want to be prosperous, go and be in Korokoza, what sort of a nation are we going to be? We need arbiters of the nation's destiny, the teachers, to be allowed to survive and responsibly and respectively survive so that they are able to take this country forward. Zimbabwe needs teachers. We can't operate with people who think that they can open their dirty mouth and say anybody can be a teacher. Without the taxonomy of education, we can't have an education system that will take this country in. So teachers are critical and we need them. And they must be allowed to stay in the class, teach their kids, and basically mold the nation. You can't have what we are seeing now, where kids come to school drunk, they come late, and truancy has become the order of the day. And we celebrate it because the Second Republic doesn't care. We can't have that. And I want to impress upon the president, the vice president, and everybody to say, history will judge you and will judge you very unfairly because you have allowed the decimation of the good things that have been happening in this country because you basically became selfish. And if you forgot that teachers are critical components of national development and growth.
Yeah, thank you, Comrade Innocent. May you accept my invite to co-host because I'm suspicious of my network here and yours appear to be stable. So if I miss it, then we can continue with the program from that side. So kindly do me that favor, Comrade Innocent, if you are listening and hearing me. Now let's connect with Comrade Ray and Comrade Robo. Comrade Robo, accept my invite to speak. So that you're able to respond to the interventions. But let's talk to Comrade Majongwe, let's talk to Comrade Ray about this said situation. Comrade Tapiwa, you want to speak?
Yes, I just wanted
also,
good afternoon.
Sorry, Comrade Tapiwa. I would want, I've seen Comrade, he's no longer there. Comrade Muti, you are there. If you have some few minutes, you may talk to us about the right to strike, the right to peaceful demonstrate, and the various conventions that the government of Zimbabwe is obviously violating by arresting peaceful demonstrators who are protesting about their wages and working conditions. So, Comrade Tapiwa.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. I just wanted to, myself, I come from a family of teachers. My father was a teacher, my mother was a teacher. Also, two of my sisters were teachers. So basically, I couldn't be a teacher because there were too many teachers in the family. So yes, I've grown up to see the dignity, the way respected member of society, and of course they deserve that respect. But as far as demonstrating is concerned, of course, everyone has a right to express their views and to air their concerns, to say we need them to attend to our concerns. But my question to Mr. Majongwe is how are they dealing with the executive within the Ministry of Education? What has been their response internally as a department of government and as their bosses to actually address those concerns, and also to address the structural problems of modernization of our education? Because I truly believe, because I come from a commercial management background, whereby we basically do a lot of costing, and to actually see if it's sustainable, the traditional education system point of delivery, and the way that our kids are being taught, the way our teachers actually deliver. Do we need a bit of modernization so that it's not inefficient? Is it up to date with the demands of modern society, so that we have to modernize it and at least accrue some savings for modernization, so that it's not all about money? Because I don't believe in throwing money at every problem. Because as soon as you start throwing money, secondary school teachers will demand money, primary school teachers, college lecturers. So we keep throwing money until we don't have any money. So what can we do, Mr. Majongwe, within the Ministry of Education, especially being addressed by the Permanent Secretary, who is the ministry?
Thanks, Comrade. I think I enjoyed your question and your background, but the most important and difficult component of what you've asked 1,000 questions in your input, because you asked issues around admin, you asked issues around professionalism, you asked around issues of professionalism and welfare and many other. I quoted you of many others. I would basically hasten to say the real challenge we have in this country is the plenipotentiaries in the Ministry of Education are not seized with the issues. We have too many and several areas where people have to make certain decisions. The Ministry of Education decides nothing in terms of teacher welfare. Point number one, that is something that is domiciled at the Public Service Commission. You must understand that. Secondly, when it comes to administration of education, it's not the people at the Ministry of Education who decide anything, be it transfers, be it what, it also goes back to the Public Service Commission. And these are the challenges inherent within the way the government is structured, to a point where we ultimately say, you want to deal with an issue of transferring a woman to a husband in Macheke, you have to go to the Public Service Commission for that to be facilitated. And then it becomes a serious challenge. You want to talk about issues of teacher welfare. And by teacher welfare, we are simply saying, can teachers be paid an allowance for teaching grade 7? That decision can't come from the Ministry of Education. It has to come from the Public Service Commission. And normally, some of the people at the Public Service Commission have no idea about what is really happening. We have been talking about what are called teacher responsibility allowance. Like for now, if you go to the nurses, the reason why the salaries for the nurses appear to be better is because they have fought a war and won on the basis that they're going to say there's a risk allowance, you can contract TB, you can contract HIV, you are coming to work at night. But for teachers, basic things, teachers who are in grade 1, we have to take the kids to the toilet in case they mess them up. There's no allowance for them to ultimately say, yes, I can get this one. Teachers who are teaching composite classes, there's no allowance for it. Teachers who are teaching grade 7, there's no motivation. And we are simply saying, give teachers these teacher-specific allowances that will help increase the teacher salary. But because the people at the Ministry of Education are basically powerless, they then can't make any decision. Every recommendation that they make has to be put at some office in the Public Service Commission, and it's up to the women caprice of that particular person to accept or not accept. And ultimately, a lot of these issues are political issues. They ultimately end up on the desk of the president. And if the president doesn't accept it, ends there. Thirdly or fourthly, the other point that you also need to understand, when you are talking about the issues of teacher welfare, because when you understand what is happening, to say if you're going to be throwing money at every problem, teachers are not saying throw money at us. We are simply saying, pay us what we are worth. We are professionals. We are not vagabonds who are not just asking for money because we know there is money. We are professionals We have gone to school. We understand the taxonomy of education. We are qualified. We are competent. And we are serving the interests of the country. So why not reward us for what we are doing? How would you feel if a teacher who graduated from the University of Rhodesia in 1977 and he has now gotten 3 other degrees and he has now a doctorate and he is earning 24,000 RTGS? Would you accept that in your field? This is the tragedy that we have. So as far as we are concerned, pay teachers what they are worth, they are professional. And the other issue that we are also talking about, we have been talking about non-monetary incentives. Give us what we are asking for. Tax exemptions, give us land, basic things that don't need money. But it appears if somebody says we are going to give 500 square meters of land to teacher Panganai, somebody feels bitter. He doesn't want to do it because they see a loss and they want to give their land barons the land to sell. These are some of the basic things to say. Let's sit down as citizens. Let's mellow down to constructive discourse and make sure that we reward our teachers so that they come to work happy and they live.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sharp, sharp.
Hello, it appears as if Comrade Mutasa maybe has found out. Maybe we need to continue with this particular important discussion. I think that you have raised Raymond, and I think Robson also alluded to that. For someone like me, who worked as a teacher, and at one point was active in the teachers' struggle, can you please talk to us with regards to the issue that what has happened maybe over the past 20 years or so has been maybe the further fragmentation of the teachers' movement? How best can we ensure that the powers that be in the teachers' movement maybe can put their best foot forward in ensuring that there's unity, like the example that you give of nurses? How best can we go around that, and maybe looking at the community support, maybe that can be mastered, Comrade Majong? Hello, Robson, are you also?
Thank you very much. I think we are just having a network hiccup at the Twitter Spaces. This is what happened to our teachers in Zimbabwe. They have been arrested. The president of Amalgamated Rural Teachers Union, Albert Masaraure, and 15 other leaders who are in that situation today. As we have heard already, that they are still at the courts and they are trying to apply for a bail. They are charged by being in a crowd, wanting to incite violence. So these kind of charges are now common to those people who are fighting for their rights. These people, these teachers are fighting for a better wage. They all want to go to class. They really need to fight. But now, when they send their message, they are being persecuted. This is really not fair. Um, and right now, they are not sure whether they're going to be given a bail or not. Uh, we know all what happened to Makomborero Haruzivishe. He was in jail for 10 months. He is out now. So I think with this government, it's not really cool for them not to have anyone in their custody who fights for their rights. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the discussion we have at hand. When we have to always face this kind of treatment from our own government, is it really bad to ask for a better salary? Zvikanzi nevamwe vemacomments atinawo zvikanzi hanzi mwana asingachemi anofira mubereko. Vamwe vakati union of choice is indirectly not wanted. Ndivo vari kukwaturwa sepwere vakapinda munzira kunoratidzira chikumbiro chavo. Yes, you are right. This is vapinda munzira vakati aiwa ngatiratidzireiwo zvichemo zvedu. Zvichemo zvavo zvotadza kunzwikwa because paita vanhu vanorwadziwa kuti vanofanira kunge varivo chete vanodya. The idea is toda kudyawo, ndo point ingoripo chete. Ngatidyei tiindeka mumakirasi takaguta. That's the point yematicha, nothing else. Zvikanzi nevamwe, Zimbabwe is the only country in the world with numbered republics. Zambia is probably in its sixth republic, if we go by that measure. Yes, Chris Zomo, your point there is very valid. I think we really need change of republics. And then how can that be achieved? We really need to know what we are voting for. And as teachers, they are sending a message that let's vote for education. Let's resuscitate our education. How can we resuscitate our education? Just vote for somebody who is willing to bring a change to the education system, who is willing to bring sanity into the education system. This is what we are fighting for. We need better education for Zimbabwe. Otherwise, this generation is being killed. No learning is taking place. Tikudzokera kuna 2008. Hanzi kare kwainzi mwana asingachemi anofira mubereko. Iko zvino vanoti mwana anongochema chete ngaarohwe akandwe muchizarira. Yes, ndo zvatiri kuona mukoma Henry kuti vanhu vese vari kutraya kusenda message to this government kuti veduwe, inzwaiwo kuchema kwedu, tipeiwo muhoro wakakwana. Vanobva varohwa, vanobva vavharirwa. It's just sending a message. We need better salaries. We need safe schools. We need better education. Nothing else. And we can deliver. if we are given enough. I'm sure during that time when people were receiving their money in US dollars, things were just flowing. Yes, it wasn't enough. 540 is not enough, but people could survive. People could send their children to schools. People could even send money kumusha kunana baba na mai. Right now, we cannot afford to send anything to our own homes, to our parents. Huh? Unonzwa imbwa ichitotukwa kumusha uko nzi putsaki urikuita kunge teacher. Izvo kurwadziwa kuti vedu wei vanenge vachitukwawo kuti vane vana maticha vasingapiwi mihoro yechikafu inopiwa vamwe kumaruzevha uko. So vedu wei, even maticha acho takutodawo care. This is really, really bad. And we need to do something about this situation. I'm worried that this space might have just ended. So thank you very much for joining me here, and thank you very much for your contributions. Zvakaoma, network has been a challenge, and I'm very glad that we have managed to share one or two things about this kind of situation. So, in solidarity with these 16 members of Amalgamated Rural Teachers of Zimbabwe who are still in police custody, we say we will never ever give up. We're going to fight till our teachers have been granted better salaries, till we have safe schools in Zimbabwe and we have restored sanity in the education sector. Thank you very much for joining me. And this is not a way to push teacher out of the country. This is actually the way to push teachers out of the country, because when this kind of treatment persists, at the end of the day, we are going back to what happened in 2009, whereby there was no learning at all in any way. And we really didn't want to go back that in 2008. We were trying to come out of that situation, and we were managing, but now we are going back. And it is up to you, citizens, to vote for education. Vote for better Zimbabwe. Vote for education. And how can we achieve that? We need to register to vote right now. Please use the application. Check whether you are registered or not. If you're not registered, please register to vote and vote for better education in Zimbabwe. Thank you.